Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up, Bobby. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm not going to punish the prompt, and a couple quick housekeeping things. Number one is at 1 o'clock today, we have our bold coach. James Farron's going to be here to be doing a coaching session for us. Not just productivity. This is anybody in the office. 1 o'clock. I'd love to see the education room packed with people. So if you can make it 1 o'clock or get on Zoom, either way, be fantastic. So that's it for housekeeping. So special guest today. Not only a guest, but a good friend. Somebody who we lean on each other a lot. Let's put it that way. And Terry's director of coaching for Business Maps Coaching and Training. He's really the reason I stayed with Maps once I started just getting my coaching with them. We met in the art and science of coaching, and then went through certification together. And he was nice enough to throw me some bones with some one thing training and help me out with that, which was awesome. So anyway, Terry's joining us today from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So it is 5:30 in the morning. Just FYI. So I'm going to get him going here. I just got to see, but I'm not going to try and pin him to the screen or anything like that. So Terry, come off mute. And we've got 34, 35. It's growing. We'll probably have 50 plus people on the call.
All right. Can you hear me, everybody? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. Look at that. All those thumbs going up this morning. Beautiful. Hey, it is 5:30 in the morning. I'm outside my front yard because my wife's inside sleeping, and I want things to stay peaceful in my home, if you know what I mean. So anyways, it is great to be here with you guys. Listen, I'm going to get right into it if you guys don't mind. Thank you, Tony, for giving me the opportunity to do this. Yeah, I'm in here, beautiful North Idaho, but you know, I've had a very interesting year to go along just with an interesting life, really. And I know we're all like that. We all have stories. We all have things unfolding, some good, some challenging, some in between. And so anyways, a year ago, this time I was having I noticed some changes that I was having in my, physically. And that was that I couldn't really walk very far without getting out of breath. I my heart started hurting. I'm a I'm a two-time Ironman. I know it doesn't probably look like it, but I went out for a bike ride and I could only go a mile before I was completely exhausted and out of breath. And so I went in to see my cardiologist and went through a bunch of testing and found out that I needed a quintuple bypass. So in September, I went into the hospital and had a 5-way bypass. And I'll be honest, you guys, I was number one, I couldn't believe I needed to have that. It just blew me away. And the other thing was I was very nervous. and I get it. Doctors do these all over the country every single day, and they go off without a hitch, no problem. And so I know people are saying you got nothing to be worried about or afraid of or nervous or anything like that. But here's the deal. There's a difference between doctors doing this all over the country on other people and then doctors doing it on you. Right. So there is a difference. And so I started thinking about all the things could potentially go wrong. Right. Like, I know they're going to cut my sternum, and what are they going to use? And what if it goes too deep and hits my heart? I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about all these things could potentially go wrong. And I was nervous. And so I had to sit down. I had to stop and I had to ask myself this question. If I don't make it out of surgery, am I okay with my life? Am I okay with the way that I've lived? Am I okay with what I've done, the things I've said, the people I've said them to? Am I okay with that? And I really had to ask myself this question. And I started thinking about things. Now, obviously there's more I want to do in this life. I want to see my oldest daughter married. I want to see more grandkids. My wife and I have a couple of trips that we really want to take. And we're all going to have those things that we still want to do, but up until this point, if something happened and I was able to answer the question, yes, I'd be okay. And with that, man, I just had tremendous peace. And it was just crazy. I just had tremendous peace. I wasn't nervous. I was able to go through the surgery. The surgery went fine. I was in the hospital for 5 days. I was released. I went home. And about a week later, I started coughing really bad. And I would call my doctor. I would go in and see my doctor. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. They were trying to adjust my medicine. Nothing seemed to work. And so finally I was in cardiac rehab, where you go in and you start rehabilitating. And I was on a treadmill and different things. And anyways, I was on the treadmill, the bike. But when I was on the treadmill, I told them, I said, when I came in, I said, my left leg really hurts. I don't know how long I can do this. And they just said, well, just do it as long as you can. And I got on. And as soon as I was on, they said, Terry, get off. I can tell you're in way too much pain. And the truth was, my left leg was twice the size as my right leg. It was beginning to turn a different color. And they said, you need to go to the emergency. So I went downstairs, because I was at the hospital already, into the emergency, only to find out that I had a deep vein thrombosis, which is a big blood clot in my left upper thigh going into my pelvis. And that I also had 2 embolisms in my lungs and my liver. Not good. And so I was in the hospital for like 4 days. They had to figure out why I had this. And what they determined was I was allergic to heparin, which is a blood thinner that they gave me in my initial surgery. And when you're allergic to it, instead of thinning your blood, it clots your blood. And so this is what happened. And so a week later, I was back at rehab. I was feeling fantastic. I did my treadmill. I did my, I did my bike, and I felt great. And I got off, and I sat in my chair like I'm doing right now in my front yard. I was sitting in a chair, because they want your heart rate to come down to the place it was when you first came in before you leave. And so I was sitting there, and I could feel myself that I was going to become unconscious. I could just feel myself going, and it scared me. And I yelled to the therapist. She said she looked at me and she could tell that they were losing me, and I was out. She came over. She told me this afterwards. She couldn't find my pulse. I was non-responsive. They called the code blue. About 2.5 minutes later, I actually came to. I had all these people around me. And again, they said, we got to take him to the emergency. So they took me down there, and they had no idea why this happened. And my surgeon came in and said, you're not leaving the hospital until we figure out what happened. And I was like, hey, I'm feeling fine. I can just go home. I feel great now, and nope, you're staying home. You're staying here. And anyways, so they did a heart cath. They went in, they took a look at my heart, and they found 3 of my bypasses had failed. And they had no idea why. That does not happen to anybody. They don't ever, the blood clots and this, they don't see this happen. So anyways, I had to go in, and they had to put 2 stents in me to go around those. And so they were able to do that, and I was able to go home. And now I felt like, okay, I'm finally fixed. This was over the course of about a month and a half. So I felt like, okay, I'm finally fixed. And I got home, and the day after I got home, I started having incredible abdominal pains. I mean, really, really bad. And I just figured it was my body flushing out all the medication that I was going through and that I had been through. And I had a lot of CAT scans and different things like that. They were putting dye in me. So I figured that's what it was. Well, finally, it was so bad, I had to go into the emergency. And when I was in the emergency, they did a CAT scan. They found a blockage in my colon. The doctor came in and said, we have to address that. We've got to take that out. So we need to do surgery. So they did the surgery. They took 2 feet of my colon out. It's more than that. It's like, and took 2 feet of my colon out. Afterwards, the doctor said, Terry, here's the good news. Your colon was 2 feet longer than the average colon. So you're normal. And so anyways, they did a biopsy, and they came in on a Wednesday night. I was by myself. My wife had already gone home. The doctor came in and said, Terry, it's cancer. You have stage 3B colon cancer. And I mean, it just hit me hard. And, but in the midst of all of this, in the midst of going through all of this, I started thinking again about my life and, where I was at. And I started asking myself, what are the questions that I can ask myself on a regular basis to make sure that I am engaged at the highest level with the people around me, with the work that I do, and that I live a life of no regrets. And I want to share those 5 questions with you today. And I believe if we ask these questions on a regular basis, we will engage at a higher level with the people that we love, the people that we work with, and that we will be able to live a life of no regrets. It doesn't mean we're going to be able to accomplish everything in our life, because our goals never go away, no matter how old we are. There's always more things that we want to do. So are you ready? I'm going to give them to you. Okay. So I'm sitting in the hospital. I'm going through all of this. And here's the first question, and that we ask ourselves: how am I doing? How am I doing really? So to be able to ask ourselves and to be able to think through every area of our lives, how am I doing relationally with the people in my life, starting with my family, my wife, my significant other, my kids, my parents, just the people in your life. How am I doing relationally? The people that I work with. Uh, And the next one, how am I doing spiritually? How do I have peace inside? Am I okay there? The other one is, how am I doing financially? How are we doing, financially? Where are we? And just be able to ask ourselves these kind of questions. And then the last one is, how am I doing professionally? The work that I'm called to, how am I doing? And if we rate ourselves on a scale of 1 to 5, and then write down why I gave myself that rating, we're going to be able to, have some clarity about how we're doing. Too often we're just going through life. We're going through the motions. We have demands personally, professionally. People need our attention. We have moments where we get to do something fun, go to a game, go to a concert, something like that. But we're not really thinking about how we're doing. And so these are questions that we can do proactively when we're not in the hospital, when they're not opening up our chest or taking, pieces of our body out, right? So we want to live a high quality life. I mean, it's one of the reasons why you're here. You have big goals. You want to reach those financially. You want to build a life. And so we want to build a life, but we also want to have a quality of life personally. So we have inner peace, so we're in good relationships, with others. So that's one. So I want to give you some benefits of doing this. Okay. Here's some benefits of doing this. Number one, you feel more engaged in the appraisal. So when you're going through this, you just feel more engaged about life in general. That's one. You gain greater insights and set future goals for improvement. So you have these insights about who you are and how you're doing. And so you're able to set additional goals that maybe you're not setting right now, or maybe changing your goals and upping them a bit based on how you're doing, and maybe even the help you're getting as a result of the answers that you have, right? You feel more confident about your abilities to be able to live, knowing where you're at, how you're doing, and be able to address those issues in real time, or as close to real time as possible, right? You feel more confident. You have enhanced capabilities about building connections with others, right? So you just feel you're connecting with others more easily. You select training programs that are most suited to meet your needs. So whatever you're going through, maybe you say, you know what, I'm a 2 in this area. Now you have this heightened awareness. Write this down. This isn't in my notes. So write this down. The first step to change is awareness, and the second is acceptance. So once we become aware of how we're doing, and then we accept that, now we have options. Now we can begin to look for different things, whether it's a coaching program, whether it's a class or whatever, a book, a podcast, that now we can apply those things and get the things that we really need. We can develop an inquiring mind, right, for problem solving. It helps us with the whole problem solving process as we do this on a regular basis. We become more accountable. We feel more valued, and we feel more motivated to learn new skills. These are the benefits of doing this. So stopping and just saying, man, how am I doing? How am I doing really? Doing that self-assessment. So there's one, and I know I'm going quick. Tony's got his Fathom notes going, so hopefully we'll have some stuff after this. Here's the second one. Number one, what are you grateful for? And we have a lot of people that talk about, man, keep a gratitude journal, man, write this down, but here's the second part of that. Why are you grateful for it? It's one thing to say, man, I'm grateful for where I live. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for where I live, but why are you grateful for it? You know, we live in North Idaho, and I'm grateful for living here because it's so peaceful. I can go in my backyard and I can unplug and I can just feel this peace. It's quiet. It restores my soul. Write down why you're grateful for that. The people in your life, the work that you do, the opportunities that you have. Um, why? So here's the benefits of being grateful. This is what happens. Number one, it improves your self-esteem. You just have this greater awareness about all the blessings in your life, and you just feel it enhances the feelings that you have about the world, and more importantly about yourself. It improves self-esteem. It improves energy and health. Right? We all want that. We want that improved energy. We want more energy. We want to be focused with the people that we're with, the people that we're working with, right? And your health. It makes us happier and more optimistic. And I'll tell you what, we could use a lot more happiness and optimism in our world. Come on, talk to me, somebody. Give me a thumbs up if you believe that's true, huh? Greg, thank you. I even got a little smile out of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. It makes us more resilient and to deal with adversity better. We're more resilient. We have more reserves to be able to handle the things that are difficult. It keeps you, and you're more generous and forgiving. So you have a tendency to be more generous and forgiving of others. Man, how many of you know we could use a little more generosity and forgiveness in our world? Absolutely. You know, it keeps you in the present moment. It allows you to be present. I know for years and years and years, my wife and my kids said, hey, be present, be here with us, you know, and so this allows us to be able to do that. Be happier and notice the present moment more. And then it lowers stress, anxiety. It lowers those two things, you know, and so great things when we become grateful. So again, it's not just noticing and acknowledging what you're grateful for, but why are you grateful for it? What is it doing to you? So a big difference. I love this quote. Gratitude is the ultimate performance enhancing substance at work. Let me read that again. Gratitude is the ultimate performance enhancing substance at work. Man, I love that. And we're all looking for a little bit of an edge, right? We're all looking for that little thing that gets us a little bit more energy, takes us a little bit further, gives us greater clarity. Gratitude is one of those things that will do that. All right. Third question, you guys. Who do you need to thank? Who is it that you need to thank? And you think about your life. You know, I'm 62, right? I got a lot of people that have come in and out of my life. When you think about all those years, who do you need to thank? Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a friend, maybe it was a coworker, maybe it was your employer way back 10, 20, 30 years ago. Who are the people that stick out in your mind? They stick out in your mind for a reason, right? The impact they made. Who do you need to thank, right? Who's made a difference in your life and at what time? What did they do? How did they do it? You know, who needs to know? Because here's the truth. There are people right now that you know that made a difference in your life and they have no idea. You know what? It would be a blessing to them. It would encourage them if they knew that. I was going through a difficult time several years ago, and I just really was wondering, you know, why am I here? What's my purpose? And I kind of knew generally, but I wanted to know more specifically, and I could not figure out. And so, but it was interesting. There was there was about a 2-week period during this time where I had a lot of people on Facebook that I've known for a long time, going back to the 80s, right? The early 80s, mid 80s, and then, you know, moving forward. And for whatever reason, I have no idea. I had a lot of people that reached out to me and just said, hey, Terry, I just wanted to reach out and tell you how much you encouraged me. I wanted you to know that you encouraged me some of the most difficult times in my life. And all of a sudden, I'm not kidding. I had messages from people I hadn't heard for whatever reason for days, for a couple of weeks, several a day, that I hadn't heard from or seen in a long time. You encouraged me. Thank you for encouraging me. Your words were so encouraging. And at the end of that, I realized, I think I'm here to encourage people. I'm not kidding. It hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, that's why I'm here. God put me on this earth to be an encourager to other people. I'll never forget that. So I'm grateful for that moment in my life when people reached out and spoke to me. I got another quote here that I really love. When we take time to notice the things that go right, it means we're getting a lot of little rewards throughout the day. It's a virtuous cycle that only makes you feel better and better. Every time you express or receive gratitude, your brain releases dopamine, making a recurring connection between the action and feeling good. It also helps reduce stress reactions in your body. I read that because I think, when you're reaching out and you're thanking people, you're also expressing gratitude. So you have gratitude and now thanking those people. So if someone's coming to your mind right now, write their name down. Let them know, either through a text, through a card, through an email, through a phone call. Let them know, hey, I might even say, Melissa, I just want to thank you. You may not remember this, but I do. That moment in my life made a difference, and I wanted you to know that, right? So to be able to do that. Number 4, who do you need to forgive? Okay, man, this is a big one. This is a big one. Who do you need to forgive? Who's hurt you? Who's offended you? Who's wronged you? A lot of times we carry these things around and we have no idea the weight that it puts on our shoulders that we carry around. Now, prior to me becoming a realtor and then a coach, a team leader, I was a pastor for 22 years. And I'll tell you what, you guys, I'd like to say at the end of my 22 years, I retired. It was awesome. I rode off into the sunset and started doing these other things. But the truth is, I limped out of ministry. Man, when I resigned, I was done in every way, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. I had nothing left to give. And the other thing was, I was angry at a lot of people in my church. I I I knew I was angry. I didn't understand what that was doing for me. And I carried that anger, that resentment, that bitterness for 5 years. And I'm telling you, it affected me big time. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't want to go deep in relationships with anyone. I didn't want to have a conversation that lasted very long. And that's not me. That's not me. And so, but I finally came to this realization, and I'll tell you where it was. It was in Austin, Texas, and I was listening to Gary Keller, and he was doing his victim talk. It was first time in my life I realized I was a victim. And I'm telling you, when I realized that, and I made the commitment that day to never be a victim again, and I no longer looked at all the people that I was angry at, I only looked at myself, what I did, what I didn't do, what I said, what I didn't say. And I only looked at myself. And I mean, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. And then I had the opportunity to apologize and ask for forgiveness from a lot of people. And for 5 years, I felt like it was their fault. They wronged me. And so anyways, I'll just never forget that freeing moment. Who do you need to forgive? When I was growing up, my father was an alcoholic. He was very abusive. We lived in fear in our home. I mean, fear for our lives. Every kind of abuse imaginable happened in our home. Every kind. We were afraid. When I was 10, my father left. When I was 22, I had the opportunity to tell my dad, I had no reason to say this, but I realized this. When I was thinking about my dad, I thought, if there was not one other thing that he did for me, he gave me my life, and I love life. And I was grateful for that gift. And I found one reason for me to love my dad. And I remember when I was 22, I was at his house. It was Christmas. There was a wild party going on with all of his friends. And I looked at him before I left, and he asked me if I was ashamed of him. And I said, no, Dad, I love you. And that was hard. It was intentional for me to say that I forgave him for all the things that happened. I couldn't forgive him for my sisters or my mom or my brothers, but I could forgive him. And I remember he fell into my arms and he said, son, I'm going to get help. I promise. And I said, Dad, I believe you. 4 months later, he called me and he said, son, I just want you to know I've entered AA. I've gone to church. I've accepted Jesus as my personal savior. I just want to know if you'll baptize me. And I'll never forget that moment. Forgiveness changes you. It changes me. It changes the person that's doing the forgiving. And we don't have to wait for people to do that. Don't allow that weight to be on your shoulders. Don't carry bitterness. And listen, this is not easy. And I don't want to seem like it's easy. And some of you might have feelings right now like, listen, I can't do that. I get that. I really do. But listen, you might offer up a little prayer or a little thought to be at the forefront of your mind. Help me through this. Give me the strength that I need to be able to identify what, who, and how I can forgive. That might be a prayer, but when we do that, it changes us. So, and here's here's some benefits of forgiving, right? Healthier relationships, improved mental health, less anxiety and stress and hostility, fewer symptoms of depression, lower blood pressure, a stronger immune system, improved heart health. Talk to me. I want some heart health, right? I need that. Okay, improved self-esteem. These are the benefits of being able to do this. And again, it's not that easy. It may sound, I don't want to sound easy coming through on a Zoom call and saying, hey, here's 5 quick fixes for your life. None of these are quick. None of these are easy. It takes intentionality and purpose behind it, right? And here's the last one. Who do you need to tell that you love? Who do you need to tell that you love? Now, this was big for me because, yes, that's right. People hurt people. That's what hurt people hurt people. And that's right. Who do you need to say that I love? Because of the way that I was grown up, we were not emotionally connected as a family. We never checked in with one another. We never asked how we were doing. We never touched. We never said we love you. And I grew up, I didn't like to be hugged, even into adulthood. I mean, we're talking into my 30s and even 40s. I didn't want to be hugged. You could touch me, we could shake hands, but don't hug me. And I never told anybody outside of my wife and my kids that I loved them. I was in my late 40s the first time I told my mom that I loved her. And I'm telling you, and some of you will relate to this, some of you won't, but it was emotionally hurtful for me to try to say those words. I didn't understand where it was coming from. It was hard. But I when I realized this, I thought I've got to overcome this, and I've got to be, because I did love people. I tried to demonstrate that. I tried to show that through actions or words of support. But I think people need to hear that, and I need to be able to say that. And I actually started praying, God, help me to be able to say that. I feel it. Help me be able to say that. And so God helped me. And I'm telling you, it was so uncomfortable. I have a really good friend, one of my best friends. I remember, man, he doesn't have a problem hugging or saying he loves me. I remember the first time he did it, I was like, oh, dude, what are you doing? You know, he's hugging me and, hey, I love you, Terry. And I went, hey, right on, man, right on. I just could not respond. But I'm so glad that I recognized, this is part of that self, evaluation, that I recognized that I need to be able to do this. I need to be able to say this. And I started. And it's still, you guys, listen, it doesn't come naturally. It doesn't come easy, but I do it. I've started telling people, hey, man, I love you. People need to hear it. I need to say it. It makes a difference, in our world. Here's some of the health benefits of saying, I love you. It lowers stress. All these things I'm talking about, they lower stress. They lower cholesterol. Talk to me about that. Talking again, heart issues, right? They lower blood pressure, and you have a stronger immune system, right? By saying, I love you, by expressing that. So anyways, these are the thoughts, these are the questions I came up with in the hospital as I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going to go through, what I was going to go through. I didn't know what the future looked like, but I thought, you know what, I've got to live with greater purpose and intentionality. What are the questions? How do I do this? And what's going to give me the best chance of having the life I truly want, and to be able to have the relationships I truly want? And these are the 5 questions I came up with. And so I wanted to share those with you.
Wow,
Tony.
Terry, thank you, man. That was, I saw a couple of people wiping some tears away. And this is, our morning mindset. We have 46 people on this call. Which is just fantastic. And this is, the morning mindset was born out of, originally was script practice. And we've been doing this for 5 years. And almost 6 years, I take that back. Bill, and it's all, Bill Weidecker, our OP, is just an amazing person. But this is we got morning mindset. This is what it's all about, and our office is so unique in this way, where we have this group of people that just give and give, and they're there to help and support. And it's an amazing place. So I really want to thank you for your time, Terry. It was, yeah. Okay. I'm a little choked up. I'll admit it. We've become good friends over the last year and a half, and I really appreciate you, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
and sharing that, because I know you've come through a lot, and your mindset is what got you through.
Yeah. Yep. I believe that.
Yeah,
I do.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I will tell you, it is 9 o'clock. That was a great way to start the morning. 1 p.m. today, James Ferentz is in the house. Well, not physically, but Zoomed, and love to have as many people there as possible. And again, Terry, 5:30 in the morning, man. You and Via Williams, get up at 5:30 in the morning and be on the show with us. So we really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Tony. Hey, you can see right next to my name, my phone number. If you ever want to send me a text or whatever, please take that down. Would love a text. Any ahas that you have, any way that I can think about you or pray for you, I'd happy to do it. My wife and I have a prayer time every morning. And so anyways, Tony, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for what you do and how you do it. And here's to the rest of the day, and more importantly, our lives. Thanks, you guys.
Take care, Terry. Bye-bye, guys.